As night settles and the world grows quiet, all you need to do is breathe. Inhale slowly, feel the air move through you, and let it fade gently away. The sounds of the day drift into silence until only the rhythm of your heartbeat remains steady, soft, and alive. Welcome to Sleepy Science, where stories of the earth unfold in whispers, and wonder itself becomes a lullaby. Here, science speaks slowly, like the sea against the shore, carrying you toward rest while the universe keeps turning beyond your closed eyes. Tonight, we begin a quiet journey across the story of life on Earth, not through noise and motion, but through stillness. Together, we'll wander through time, from the first sparks of existence to the strange and beautiful ways life endures. You don't need to hold on to anything now. Just listen, breathe, and let your thoughts drift like a feather through the dark. Our planet has always been a miracle, alive in every form and texture. Life glows softly in the deep ocean, clings to stones in deserts, and drifts invisibly through the air. Every creature, every cell, carries part of a single story, one that began long before memory itself. To listen to that story is to remember where we come from, and perhaps where we are still going. So settle in, let the body grow heavy, the breath slow, and the imagination open like a tide at dusk. Our first chapter begins far below the surface, in the silent depths of the sea, in a world without sunlight, where the first living spark may have been born. When people imagine life's beginning, they often picture a warm pond beneath a gentle sky. Yet many scientists now believe the origin was far darker and stranger at the bottom of the ocean, near hydrothermal vents that spew boiling, mineral-rich water from Earth's crust. It seems an impossible place for life. No light, no air, only heat, pressure, and stone. But within that harshness, chemistry was at work. Minerals inside those vents formed tiny chambers, natural laboratories where simple molecules could gather, react, and grow into more complex forms. The boundaries of these mineral pockets may have offered the first safe shelter for fragile beginnings, protecting them from the chaos of early Earth. In that darkness, the first patterns of life might have flickered into being, quietly shaping themselves from chance and chemistry. Even now, these vents are crowded with creatures that live without sunlight. Shrimp, worms, and microbes that draw energy directly from the planet's inner heat. Their existence reminds us that life does not always need light to begin. Sometimes, it only needs patience, pressure, and the will to persist. If the deep sea was the cradle of life, then ice became its test. Imagine being frozen solid, your heart stopped, your blood unmoving, and then waking again as if nothing had happened. For some creatures, this is not fantasy, but survival. The wood frog of North America allows its body to freeze almost completely through the winter. Its heart ceases to beat, its veins fill with ice. Yet special sugars like glucose act as natural antifreeze, protecting the cells from bursting. When spring sunlight returns, the frog thaws, breathes, and hops away as if death had never touched it. Insects and tiny invertebrates use the same trick, turning themselves into stillness until warmth returns. They remind us that life is not delicate but endlessly creative, able to pause its rhythm for months or years and then continue as if time itself were just a dream. We often think of the sun as the source of all life, but deep beneath the waves, there are worlds that have never known its light. Around those same hydrothermal vents, entire ecosystems flourish in eternal darkness. Blind crabs, ghostly fish, and giant tube worms drift in chemical glow, feeding not on sunlight but on chemosynthesis, a process where bacteria harvest energy from the minerals rising through the vents. Elsewhere, in caves sealed off from the sky, other creatures live the same way, eyeless, pale, sensing the world through touch and vibration. For them, darkness is not absence, but foundation, a world complete unto itself. Life, it turns out, does not belong only to the light. It builds its own suns in the deep, finds warmth in the cold, and writes its stories in the dark. Far beneath the waves, drifting with the patience of the tides, live creatures older than almost anything else on Earth. Long before the first trees rose from the soil or the first birds crossed the sky, jellyfish were already pulsing through the oceans. They have survived for over 500 million years, gliding through ages that came and vanished like passing storms. Their bodies are mostly water, soft bells of tissue without bones, hearts, or brains. Yet they endure, perfectly tuned to the rhythm of the sea. Their design is so simple, so efficient, that time itself has found no reason to change it. With each slow pulse, they drift forward, carried by invisible currents. At night, they may glow faintly, turning the dark water into a galaxy of light. In vast gatherings, their pale forms stretch for miles, blooms so immense they can be seen from space. To watch them move is to gaze into deep time, a glimpse of the Earth when life was still learning to exist. Jellyfish are living witnesses to the planet's memory, proof that persistence can come not from struggle, but from surrender. If jellyfish speak of survival through patience, the microbes that eat rocks tell of survival through ingenuity. Deep beneath the crust, in caverns without sunlight or air, microscopic beings, called lithotrophs, live inside stone itself. They feed on minerals, drawing energy from iron, sulfur, even uranium. To most creatures, these elements are lifeless. To them, they are food. In that buried darkness, water seeps through fractures, carrying whispers of chemistry. The microbes wait there for centuries, stripping electrons from the minerals around them. They live so slowly that entire civilizations might rise and fall between their generations. Yet they endure, untouched by the chaos above. Over millions of years, these rock-eaters reshape the crust, altering minerals, softening stone, and leaving traces of their patient work. Scientists believe they may resemble the kind of life that could exist on other worlds. Simple, hidden, and endlessly enduring. If Mars or Europa ever harbors life, perhaps it will look like these quiet miners of the deep, drawing breath not from sunlight but from stone. It is humbling to think that vitality can dwell in the cold, mineral heart of a planet. Above those unseen depths, life endures in another form measured not in silence, but in time beyond reckoning. Beneath the Mediterranean Sea lies a meadow of seagrass called Posidonia oceanica. Its emerald blades ripple in the current, yet the colony beneath has lived for more than 10,000 years. Each new leaf that grows and dies is part of one immense being, a clonal organism slowly spreading beneath the sand. It is quiet, ancient, and steady, a living witness to the passing of ages. On land, another wonder stretches across the mountains of Utah, the trembling aspen forest known as Pando. To wander through it is to walk among 40,000 trunks, all rising from a single vast root system. Though it appears as many trees, it is truly a single organism that may be tens of thousands of years old. When one stem falls, another rises, nourished by the same hidden roots that have persisted since the Ice Age. Unlike creatures that must fight as individuals, these ancient colonies thrive through unity. Their immortality lies not in resisting change, but in embracing it, dying and returning in perfect rhythm. They remind us that endurance can take the form of connection, that continuity may matter more than permanence. Standing beneath their golden leaves in autumn, you can almost feel time breathing a heartbeat that belongs not to one tree, but to the vast network beneath your feet. Yet even these forests share their world with a greater giant, one that lives entirely underground. In the Blue Mountains of Oregon sprawls a fungus named Armillaria ostoi, the largest living organism on Earth. On the surface it seems ordinary, a scatter of mushrooms rising after rain, but beneath the soil stretches a single living web of mycelium, branching filaments that connect trees across nearly 10 square kilometers. This organism is thousands of years old, expanding invisibly through the earth, digesting wood and recycling the forest from within. Each thread carries both destruction and renewal, breaking down what has died so that life can begin again. To walk across that forest is to tread upon the skin of one immense creature, a quiet giant whose body hums beneath every root and stone. This being is not fierce, not fast, but profoundly patient. It grows not in years, but in centuries, guided by hunger and balance. Its existence reminds us that greatness need not rise above ground. Sometimes it rests beneath us, unseen, yet sustaining all. Armillaria is the forest's hidden architect, connecting, nourishing, and reclaiming, forever turning death into life. It shows that existence need not be loud to be immense, that even the smallest threads can hold an entire world together. From the drifting jellyfish to the rock-eating microbes, from the ancient seagrass to the sleeping fungus beneath Oregon's pines, life reveals itself as a tapestry of endurance. Some float in the ocean's stillness, others whisper through stone or breathe beneath the forest floor. Together they tell one story: that to live is to adapt, to transform, and to persist. The earth has changed beyond measure, yet life remains. It survives through grace and connection, through stillness and renewal. And if you listen carefully, beneath the wind and beneath your own heartbeat, you may hear it, the faint hum of a planet, alive, still dreaming, still creating, still carrying the pulse of everything that has ever been. Inside each of us lives a vast and silent world, a universe of beings that move and multiply unseen. For every human cell in your body, there is at least one microbial companion, and perhaps more. You are not one creature, but a city of life. A living ecosystem of countless species that coexist with you, within you, and sometimes because of you. Bacteria, fungi, archaea, and viruses occupy every corner of your being. They line your skin, gather in the folds of your mouth, fill the depths of your intestines, and drift through your lungs. Together they are known as the microbiome, a vast living network that shapes digestion, immunity, and even emotion. Some are ancient allies, guiding the body's chemistry in silence. Others are harmless passengers, content simply to share your space. When you eat, they eat. When you breathe, they breathe with you. Change your diet or your sleep, and they shift in turn, a community constantly adapting to your choices. Within this invisible metropolis, trillions of lives collaborate to keep you alive. They extract nutrients, train your immune system, and send molecular messages that can alter mood and thought. To think of yourself as a single organism is an illusion. You are an ecosystem, a walking planet orbiting its own microbial suns. Each heartbeat sends rivers of life flowing through you. Each breath is shared between species. You are a harmony written in flesh, the most intimate partnership nature has ever composed. Even in stillness, your inner world hums with its ancient conversation between the visible and the unseen. Among the most astonishing of life's survivors is the tardigrade, the tiny water bear. Barely larger than a grain of dust, it looks soft and harmless, a plump little creature with 8 legs and a faint smile. Yet within that fragile form lies strength beyond imagining. When its world dries out, freezes, or burns, the tardigrade performs a miracle. It curls into itself, drains nearly all its water, and enters a state called cryptobiosis, where its metabolism falls almost to zero. In this suspended stillness, it becomes almost timeless. Scientists have frozen them for years, boiled them, blasted them with deadly radiation, and even sent them into the vacuum of space. Each time, when touched by water again, they awaken blinking and crawling as though nothing happened. Their cells contain special proteins and sugars that protect their DNA, forming a biological shield against heat, cold, and cosmic rays. It is as if the tardigrade remembers something ancient, the first lesson of life itself: how to pause, how to endure, how to begin again. Within its microscopic body lies a symbol of resilience, proof that existence can withstand the impossible. If such a creature can survive space, perhaps life is not bound to one world. Perhaps it only needs a droplet, a whisper of warmth, a moment of patience to return. If the tardigrade represents endurance through stillness, the axolotl embodies renewal. In the lakes of Mexico, these amphibians drift like underwater spirits, their feathery gills waving softly, their faces fixed in a serene, childlike smile. Unlike other salamanders, they never grow old in the usual way. Instead of transforming and leaving the water, they remain forever youthful, living in a state between larva and adult, suspended in perpetual adolescence. But their true wonder lies inside. When injured, an axolotl can regrow almost any part of its body: limbs, heart, spinal cord, even parts of the brain. Where other animals form scars, the axolotl rebuilds. Cells near the wound revert to their embryonic form, then carefully reconstruct what was lost, guided by some quiet biological memory. Within weeks, a new limb appears perfect in structure, nerves, and motion. Scientists study this regenerative power with awe, searching for clues to apply to human medicine. If we understood how these creatures remember the blueprint of their own bodies, perhaps we too could heal as they do. The axolotl has become a living key, a glimpse of how nature renews itself from within. To watch one glide through the water is to see the rhythm of rebirth itself. It teaches that loss is not always final, and that within destruction often lies the quiet code of creation. Beyond these small miracles are other forms of endurance scattered across the planet. In the frozen silence of winter, certain frogs bury themselves beneath layers of mud and leaves, holding their breath for months. Their hearts nearly stop. Their blood moves so slowly it becomes still. Oxygen seeps in only through the skin, just enough to keep them alive. They wait without struggle, trusting time to return. When spring melts the ice, they awaken and begin to sing again, their lives resuming as though nothing had changed. It is nature's lesson in patience that survival can mean stillness, that rest can be as powerful as action. In contrast, deep within warm tropical seas lives one of the smallest yet most explosive hunters, the pistol shrimp. Only a few centimeters long, it carries an oversized claw capable of producing one of the most powerful forces in nature. With a single snap, it fires a jet of water so fast that it forms a collapsing bubble. In that instant, the temperature inside the bubble briefly exceeds that of the sun's surface, releasing a flash of light and a shockwave that stuns prey. Beneath the sea, colonies of pistol shrimp sound like distant crackling fires, a hidden orchestra of underwater thunder. That such immense energy can arise from a creature so small is a reminder that nature's genius often hides in the smallest design. Power, in life, is not always loud. Sometimes it is contained within the tiniest act. And high above the ocean, another mystery unfolds: the birds that navigate by Earth's magnetic field. When a robin or a warbler migrates across oceans, it follows invisible lines of force that wrap around the planet. Tiny magnetic particles in their tissues, or light-sensitive molecules in their eyes, allow them to sense these fields as subtle patterns in the air. To them, magnetism is not a theory, but a sensation, a silent compass woven into their being. Guided by this inner map, they travel thousands of kilometers with astonishing precision, finding the same forests, the same trees, year after year. Some scientists believe that birds may actually see magnetic fields, faint glows or shifting hues that mark direction, like trails of light across the sky. The robin that finds its way home each spring does so by reading the quiet pulse of the planet. Its flight is not random, but a dialogue between body and earth. A conversation written in evolution, spoken through instinct and carried by wings. From the microbiome within you to the tardigrade that survives space, from the regenerating axolotl to the patient frog, the pistol shrimp, and the migrating bird, life continues to astonish. Each of these forms, microscopic or immense, tells the same enduring truth: that existence bends but does not break. Within your body and beneath the sea, in the stillness of frozen mud and the vastness of open sky, life endures through every trial. It pauses, adapts, transforms, and begins again. The Earth is alive, with a billion variations of survival, each whispering the same message, that persistence is not a struggle, but a rhythm. So as you breathe now, imagine them, the invisible companions within, the tiny water bears curled in sleep, the smiling salamanders rebuilding themselves, the frogs dreaming beneath ice, the shrimp that crackles with light, and the birds tracing magnetic threads across the world. Together, they form the quiet chorus of endurance, the steady hum of a living planet. Every autumn, when the air begins to cool and daylight softens, the sky fills with orange and black wings. Millions of monarch butterflies rise from fields across North America, embarking on one of the longest migrations on Earth. Each fragile traveler weighs less than a paper clip, yet together they cross mountains, rivers, and entire countries, bound for the same misty forests high in the mountains of central Mexico. It is a journey of thousands of kilometers, a passage so immense that no single butterfly ever completes the round trip. Those that set out will die along the way, leaving their descendants to continue the path south. By spring, the great-grandchildren of the original migrants take flight again, following invisible cues back to the very trees their ancestors once rested on. Scientists still do not fully understand how they find their way. Perhaps it is the position of the sun, the pull of the Earth's magnetic field, or something older, an instinct written into their genes, a memory passed down like a whisper across generations. To see a forest filled with them is to witness living poetry, a storm of color moving as one breath, proof that even the smallest wings can carry the memory of continents. In the quiet deep of the ocean, another traveler moves with grace, though it needs no wings at all. The octopus, one of Earth's most extraordinary beings, lives in a world ruled by water and thought. It has 3 hearts that beat in rhythm, sending pale, blue blood through its body blue. Because it carries copper instead of iron, allowing it to survive in the cold, oxygen-poor depths. An octopus can squeeze through a gap no wider than its own eye, change the color and texture of its skin in an instant, and solve puzzles that confound many mammals. Its body is soft, flexible, endlessly inventive, but it is its mind that astonishes most. With neurons spread throughout its arms, each limb can think and act almost independently, as if the octopus possesses not one intelligence, but several, working in fluid harmony. To encounter one is to meet an alien of the Earth, a creature whose path through evolution diverged entirely from ours, yet arrived at its own quiet brilliance. The octopus reminds us that intelligence is not a single story. It is a spectrum, written in ink and thought, in color and motion, in the slow pulse of 3 beating hearts. High above the sea, in cities and forests, intelligence takes another form, sharp-eyed, black-feathered, and impossibly clever. The crow, long a symbol of mystery, has proven itself one of the most perceptive creatures alive. Crows not only use tools and remember human faces, but they remember how they were treated. In experiments, a person who once frightened a crow will be recognized years later, greeted not with forgiveness, but with warning calls that alert the entire flock. Yet the opposite is also true. Those who feed or help them are remembered kindly. Some crows even leave gifts, bits of glass, shiny stones, small offerings to the humans they trust. Their ability to recognize, judge, and share that knowledge hints at something deeply social, almost moral. When a crow tilts its head and looks at you, it is not just seeing, it is assessing, recalling, deciding. In its gaze flickers a mind aware of other minds, a mirror of intelligence that feels almost human. Beneath the waves once more, in a world of shimmering blue, lives another kind of mind, playful, cooperative, and endlessly communicative. Dolphins move through their world as if language was second nature. Each individual develops a distinct whistle, a signature call that functions much like a name. When separated, dolphins call out to one another using these names, and each responds to its own. They can even imitate the signature whistles of friends, as if saying, "I am here, where are you?" Their lives are woven together through sound, complex clicks, pulses, and songs that echo across kilometers of open water. To listen to a dolphin pod is to hear conversation itself, a living dialogue shaped by friendship, kinship, and curiosity. Some scientists believe that dolphins can even recognize themselves in mirrors, suggesting a kind of self-awareness rare in the animal kingdom. Beneath the surface, where light fades and only sound endures, their voices ripple like laughter across the sea. On land, the elephant listens to a world beyond human hearing. With ears broad as sails and feet sensitive as drums, elephants can detect the rumble of distant storms hundreds of kilometers away. Long before the clouds appear, they begin to move toward water, guided by infrasonic vibrations, low-frequency sounds that travel through air and soil alike. They also use these deep tones to communicate with one another. Across the savannas, an elephant's call can be felt rather than heard, a soft vibration in the ground that carries news and warnings across great distances. Mothers call to calves, herds speak to herds, and entire families navigate by the pulse of the earth itself. Despite their immense size, elephants move with astonishing gentleness. They mourn their dead, touch one another with their trunks in gestures of comfort, and stand silently beneath the rain as if listening to something ancient. To be near them is to sense a consciousness vast and grounded, a mind tuned to the planet's quietest frequencies. Deep below those same skies, in the cold blue dark of the ocean, another voice travels even farther. The humpback whale, among the largest creatures ever to live, sings songs that can stretch for hours and carry across entire ocean basins. Each song is a pattern of moans, cries, and melodies, rich with rhythm and tone. But what makes them extraordinary is not just their beauty, it is their change. Over time, whales collectively alter their songs, adding new phrases, abandoning old ones, as if composing a symphony that evolves through generations. In one ocean, a new melody may appear, spreading slowly across thousands of kilometers as other whales learn and adapt it. Sometimes an entire population will adopt a new song almost overnight, echoing the same verses through the depths. Scientists still do not know why they do this, whether to attract mates, mark territory, or simply for the joy of creation. But to listen to a whale's song is to feel time itself, unfolding to hear an intelligence, vast and patient, carried through water denser than air, through distances beyond imagination. It is a reminder that communication, in its truest form, may not always seek to inform. Sometimes it exists simply to connect, to be heard, to share presence across the endless blue, from the butterfly that crosses continents to the whale whose song reshapes the sea, from the crow that remembers faces to the dolphin that calls its friends by name. The story is the same. Life reaches outward. It journeys. It listens. It speaks. Every species finds its own language, wings on wind, song through water, vibration through soil. Together they weave an invisible web of connection that spans the earth. Migration, communication, memory. These are not separate miracles, but expressions of the same truth, that life is never still. It moves not only through space, but through understanding. And if you listen closely, in the whisper of wings or the sigh of waves, in the low rumble of thunder or the distant echo of song, you might hear it, the voice of the planet itself, speaking in 1,000 dialects of motion and sound, a chorus of travelers and storytellers, reminding us that to live is to move, to feel, and to be heard. When the sun sinks and twilight settles over the land, the world does not fall into silence. It changes shape. In that gentle hour, a bat takes to the air, weaving through the dusk with impossible precision. Long before the stars appear, it is already navigating by a kind of light, invisible to us, the faint, polarized glow of the setting sun. As daylight scatters through the atmosphere, it forms hidden bands of polarization across the sky. To human eyes, these patterns are imperceptible. But to certain bats, they are maps. By reading this subtle geometry of light, they align themselves for their nightly flights, orienting long before darkness comes. And when true night arrives, they switch seamlessly to another sense echolocation, a symphony of sound too high for us to hear. Each chirp, each echo, builds an image of the world sharper than sight. Trees, insects, and even tiny raindrops appear to them as acoustic sculptures. The bat's mind merges sound and light into a single awareness, a technology of the living body more sophisticated than any we have built. On the forest floor, another intelligence awakens, one that creeps rather than flies. The slime mold, neither plant nor animal, moves slowly across damp leaves like a living web of thought. It has no brain, no nerves, and yet it can solve mazes. In experiments, scientists placed food at 2 exits of a labyrinth and set a slime mold loose inside. It spread its shimmering tendrils in all directions, exploring each path. Gradually, it retracted from dead ends, strengthening only the roots that led to food until it had traced the shortest possible path. This was not chance, but behavior. Without neurons, without memory as we know it, it had computed efficiency. Slime molds sense chemical gradients, remember previous patterns, and adapt to changing environments. They can even anticipate periodic events, pulsing faster when food is due to arrive, a kind of cellular memory. They remind us that intelligence is not confined to brains. It can emerge from simple parts working together in quiet cooperation. That same principle of collaboration rules the underground cities of the leafcutter ants. In the forests of the Americas, millions of ants march in endless lines, carrying fragments of leaves larger than themselves. But they do not eat the leaves. Instead, they bring them home to feed a hidden partner, a fungus they have been farming for millions of years. Inside vast subterranean chambers, the ants chew the leaves into mulch and spread them in gardens where their symbiotic fungus grows. The fungus, in turn, feeds the colony. Some ants specialize as gardeners, others as foragers, soldiers, or caretakers. Their society functions with the precision of a living machine. Even more astonishing, the ants carry bacteria on their bodies that secrete antibiotics, protecting their crops from parasitic molds. They have invented agriculture, pest control, and medicine, all without language or tools. Beneath the soil, they built one of the oldest civilizations on Earth, long before humans sowed their first seed. When scientists map these ant colonies, they resemble complex cities, complete with highways, storage rooms, nurseries, and waste management. Each ant knows nothing of the whole, yet together they achieve harmony. They are proof that life's technology does not always need metal or code. Sometimes it only needs instinct and cooperation. In the open grasslands of Africa and Australia, another society of builders thrives, the termites. Their towering mounds, sculpted from clay and saliva, can reach heights of 6 meters. But what makes them extraordinary is not their size, it is their engineering. Inside these earthen spires, millions of termites maintain perfect temperature and humidity for their fungus farms, even as desert air outside swings from scorching heat to cold night. The mound acts like a lung, breathing through a network of vents and tunnels. As the wind changes, air circulates, carrying carbon dioxide out and drawing fresh oxygen in. Termites constantly adjust the structure, sealing or opening passages as needed. The result is a self-regulating system, a natural air conditioner, perfected through evolution. Architects have studied these mounds to design buildings that cool themselves without energy, borrowing blueprints written in clay and instinct. To stand beside one is to feel awe, not just for what the termites built, but for what they understood without knowing. Their towers are monuments to collective intelligence civilizations, written in dust and sunlight. Far from the savannah, beneath the surface of the sea, light takes new forms. In the dark abyss, where sunlight never reaches, life has invented its own illumination. Across the planet, bioluminescence appears in countless guises, in glowing plankton that sparkle with the motion of waves, in jellyfish that drift like liquid stars, in deep-sea fish that carry living lanterns upon their heads. Each glow has purpose. Some use it to attract prey, others to find mates, and some to disappear entirely, matching the faint light from above so predators below cannot see them. Even in forests on land, the same magic flickers. Fireflies rise into the night, pulsing their gentle golden signals through the air. Each species flashes with its own rhythm, a secret language of light. In places like Southeast Asia and the Great Smoky Mountains, thousands of fireflies synchronize, their pulses merging into one vast rhythm that ripples through the trees like breathing. It is nature's light show, art and communication fused into one. Beneath the waves, or among the trees, these luminous beings remind us that even in darkness, life paints with light. Among the ocean's most gifted illusionists are the squid, masters of transformation. Their skin is alive with millions of pigment cells called chromatophores that expand and contract at will, shifting color in an instant. Beneath these lie iridescent layers that reflect light like glass, and deeper still, mirror-like cells that can scatter it completely. Working together, these layers allow some squid to do what once belonged to science fiction. They turn invisible. By scattering light to match the water around them, their bodies dissolve into their surroundings. Others become translucent, their organs faintly visible, while the rest fades away. This is more than camouflage, it is communication. In bursts of pattern and shimmer, squid speak to one another in flashes of light. A ripple of color may signal alarm, courtship, or warning. For a creature without a voice, the entire body becomes language. To watch a squid vanish into the sea is to witness the edge of possibility, a reminder that nature often invents what humans can only dream. In the farthest depths, where pressure could crush steel and sunlight has never touched, the ocean still glows with life. Tiny lantern sharks drift through the dim blue, their bellies lined with photophores that cast a faint green light. This glow hides them from predators below, blending their silhouette into the shimmer above a cloak of living light. Deeper still swims the Greenland shark, a silent giant that glides through icy black water. It may live for more than 4 centuries, the longest-lived vertebrate known. Some were already old when Shakespeare wrote his plays. They grow slowly, scarcely a centimeter each year, their hearts beating in cold patience. To imagine such a life, centuries of darkness, quiet, and motion, is to realize how differently time flows beneath the waves. Elsewhere, goldfish and carp survive in winter ponds where oxygen runs out, switching their metabolism to produce alcohol instead of acid, sleeping through suffocation until spring. The lungfish, in contrast, buries itself in mud during drought, sealing its body in a cocoon and breathing slowly through primitive lungs until the rains return. And the eel, restless wanderer of rivers, will one day slip away to the Sargasso Sea, crossing oceans to spawn in secret, before vanishing into legend. Each of these lives, glowing, waiting, wandering, is a study in adaptation. They show that nature's technologies are not made of steel or silicon, but of patience, chemistry, and imagination. From bats that red the sky to ants that farm beneath it, from fireflies that light the air to sharks that outlive empires, every corner of the living world hums with invention. And when night falls, the planet itself seems to breathe, glowing, shifting, rebuilding a living machine of endless design, powered not by circuits, but by life itself. Night falls gently over the reef, the water stills, colors fade, and in that soft darkness, a parrotfish drifts toward rest. It finds a hollow among corals, hovering for a moment before its body begins to shimmer with translucent threads. From its mouth and gills flows a clear, viscous substance, a silk spun from chemistry. Slowly, it envelops itself in a bubble of mucus, sealing its body inside a glimmering cocoon. This strange bubble is both armor and disguise. It hides the fish's scent from predators like moray eels, confusing the night hunters that patrol the reef. Suspended in the water, the parrotfish sleeps, wrapped in its own protective dream. At dawn, it bursts free, gliding away as sunlight spills across the coral. To us, it seems delicate, even fragile. But within that thin membrane lies a profound truth that safety can be made from softness, and rest can be a strategy for survival. In the same blue world, another being carries the opposite story, one not of hiding, but of nurturing. Among the seagrass meadows and coral branches, a pair of seahorses dances. Their tails intertwine as they drift upward in slow spirals, shimmering like falling leaves. This dance is not mere ritual. It is an exchange of life. The female transfers her eggs into a pouch on the male's belly. There, in the warmth of his body, he fertilizes them and keeps them safe. Over the next weeks, the male's belly swells until it trembles with new life. Finally, he contracts and releases hundreds of tiny, perfect seahorses, living replicas that scatter into the current. In this reversal of nature's roles, the male becomes both guardian and giver of life. It is an act that redefines what it means to nurture. Parenthood, it seems, is not confined by gender or form, but by the will to protect and the instinct to continue. In the seahorse, life invents equality in its own elegant way. On the surface of a still pond, another miracle of balance unfolds. Slender, long-legged water striders glide effortlessly across the skin of the water, their bodies reflected in the glass below. Each step is a defiance of gravity. Their secret lies in a miracle of physics and evolution. Legs covered in thousands of microscopic hairs, each trapping a thin layer of air that keeps them afloat. The surface tension bends beneath them but never breaks. To them, water is not a barrier but a floor. They chase prey, dance, and mate upon it, architects of a floating world. What we call impossible is, for them, a daily path. They remind us that in nature, even the laws of physics become invitations for invention. Not all life is visible to the eye. Hidden deep within the crust of the earth and scattered across polluted soil, microbes feed on what seems inedible. Certain bacteria have evolved the ability to digest plastic, transforming our most stubborn waste into food. Through enzymes sculpted by chance and time, they break down complex polymers into simple carbon chains, completing the cycle we began. Elsewhere, within the pores of ancient stone, other microbes live sealed in darkness, feeding on the minerals themselves. They survive without sunlight, drawing energy from iron, sulfur, or hydrogen. Some even exist in temperatures and pressures that would crush or boil other life. They are the ultimate minimalists, sustaining existence with almost nothing. These invisible organisms whisper of resilience. They teach that the boundaries we imagine between life and lifelessness are illusions. Even our inventions, even our ruins, eventually become part of nature's endless metabolism. And then there are the lichens, those quiet mosaics clinging to rock, bark, and mountain. They appear inert, almost lifeless gray crusts on stone, green patches on tree trunks, yet each one is a partnership, a union between algae and fungus. The fungus forms the body, protecting the delicate algae within. The algae photosynthesize, feeding both. Together, they endure where almost nothing else can, on ice, in desert, in stone. Over centuries, they slowly erode rock into soil, paving the way for forests yet to come. Some lichens can live for thousands of years, their progress measured not in days or seasons, but in millimeters per century. In their stillness lies a profound lesson. Cooperation, not conflict, built the earliest foundations of life. In the lichen's fragile crust, one can read the blueprint of survival. Connection, patience, and persistence. Life's greatest collaboration may unfold beneath our feet. Beneath every forest, unseen in the soil, lies a network of fungal threads and tree roots. A living web scientists call the Wood Wide Web. Through it, trees share nutrients, water, and even information. When a young sapling grows in shadow, older trees send sugars through the fungal network to nourish it. When pests attack, trees release chemical signals through their roots, warning others to raise their defenses. The forest breathes as one organism, a living society of stems, leaves, and unseen threads. The fungi benefit too, drawing energy from the sugars of trees. In this quiet exchange, no single being dominates. Instead, thousands cooperate across kilometers of soil, their roots and filaments touching like fingers in the dark. To walk in a forest with this knowledge is to realize you are walking not among individuals, but within a single mind, a chorus of silent conversations humming beneath the earth. Even plants that appear solitary are rarely still. When insects chew their leaves, certain plants send airborne warnings, releasing volatile chemicals that drift to their neighbors. The neighboring plants respond in turn, altering their own chemistry, producing bitter compounds to deter attackers or summoning predatory insects to devour the invaders. The scent of cut grass, the sharp tang of crushed leaves, these are not just pleasant smells. They are messages, written in molecules and carried by wind. The forest speaks constantly. We simply lack the senses to hear it. But plants do not only warn, some hunt. The Venus flytrap, waiting in silence, lies open to the air. On its inner surface, delicate trigger hairs stand ready. A single touch means nothing, but two within 20 seconds, and the jaws snap shut. It has counted distinguishing accident from opportunity. Once its prey is trapped, the plant digests it with slow precision, reclaiming nitrogen and minerals that poor soil cannot provide. When the feast is done, it reopens, patient once more. The flytrap does not act by reflex. It acts with timing, anticipation, the faint shimmer of intelligence. Nearby, the mimosa folds its leaves when touched. At first, this seems like simple reaction, but the plant can learn. In experiments, it was dropped gently again and again. At first, it recoiled in defense, but over time, it stopped responding, recognizing that the fall caused no harm. Weeks later, it still remembered, ignoring the same motion while reacting to new ones. Without a nervous system, it had formed a memory. Perhaps awareness, then, is not limited to those with minds. Perhaps consciousness exists in many rhythms, in pulses of light, in the stretch of stems toward the sun, in the slow reasoning of roots. Growth itself can be a form of genius. Consider bamboo, one of the fastest growing plants on Earth. In a single day, some species can rise nearly a meter, the faint creak of expanding stalks audible in the quiet. Its hollow design allows nutrients and water to surge through effortlessly, combining strength and lightness. For centuries, humans have built with bamboo, eaten it, and written upon it. But bamboo's deeper lesson lies in its nature, flexibility without surrender. It bends with storms yet holds firm against time. In its calm ascent lies an ancient metaphor that strength is often found in what yields. The forest, for all its serenity, hides dramas as vivid as any human stage. In the depths of Sumatra, the Titan arum rises like a crimson tower. When it blooms, it releases a scent so foul, so powerful, that it can be smelled half a kilometer away, a stench of decay that draws flies and beetles eager for carrion. They enter the bloom seeking death and find only pollen, which they carry to another flower. This grotesque performance lasts only a few days, after which the bloom collapses, its purpose fulfilled. In that brief window, life uses death's perfume to ensure its own continuation. Nearby, the corpse lily follows a similar trick, mimicking the heat and color of flesh to attract the same pollinators. Beauty and repulsion merge art, born of necessity, and then come the orchids, masters of deception. Some species release chemical imitations of female insect pheromones. Their petals mimic the bodies of those insects so precisely that males, deceived by sight and scent, attempt to mate with them, coating themselves in pollen. When they fly to another orchid, the illusion repeats, and pollination is achieved. In this theater of survival, desire itself becomes a tool. The orchids remind us that nature is not moral or cruel, it is endlessly inventive. From flowers, life turns again to its most patient form, the seed. Within each tiny capsule lies the blueprint of a future forest, a genome compressed and sealed against time. Some seeds wait a season, some a millennium. In the frozen soils of Siberia, scientists revived a plant from a seed 30,000 years old. In the deserts of Judea, A 2,000-year-old date palm seed sprouted under modern sunlight, leaves unfolding as if the past itself had awakened. Each seed sleeps in a state of suspended hope, its shell hard as stone, yet attuned to every whisper of its environment. When warmth, moisture, and light align, it stirs. Enzymes awaken, the shell softens. A root breaks free, seeking downward, while a shoot rises toward the sky. In that moment of emergence lies one of nature's purest miracles, the transformation of silence into life. Seeds are memory, resilience, and prophecy combined. They carry the past forward and the future within. Along the margins of the sea, mangrove trees stand rooted between worlds. Their tangled roots rise like scaffolds above the mud, filtering salt from the seawater and breathing through pores that open to the air. They anchor the coast against storms, create nurseries for fish and crabs, and turn the meeting of land and sea into a sanctuary. Each mangrove embodies balance, drawing life from salt and stillness, turning adversity into abundance. They are guardians of shorelines and symbols of endurance, teaching us that adaptation is not compromise, but wisdom. In the heart of the savanna, grasses perform a different kind of rebirth. When wildfire sweeps across the plains, flames consume their blades, but spare their roots, hidden safely below the soil. When the rains return, they sprout again, painting the blackened earth with new green. Fire, destruction, and renewal become a single cycle. Nature, it seems, never wastes endings. It weaves them into beginnings. Across all these forms, fish spinning silk, trees whispering underground, orchids lying to their lovers, seeds waiting in frozen ground life, demonstrates a single truth. Survival is not resistance, but imagination. Every organism, from the smallest bacterium to the tallest bamboo, has found a way to exist within the constraints of its world. It sleeps, hides, deceives, communicates, or endures. Each a verse in the same long poem of persistence. The reef, the forest, the desert, and the tundra are not separate chapters but connected sentences in the story of life, written across billions of years. And through them all flows the same refrain: cooperation, adaptation, renewal. Close your eyes for a moment and picture it. The parrotfish dreaming in its bubble, the seahorse releasing its young into the current, the mimosa remembering touch, the bamboo stretching silently toward dawn. These are not isolated miracles. They are the earth thinking, breathing, and creating through every living form. And as the planet spins through the dark, carrying its oceans and forests, its lichens and roots, its flowers and seeds, the quiet rhythm continues, an endless conversation of invention. Life does not simply survive. It imagines itself anew with every heartbeat of the world. Beneath the frozen ground of Siberia, where ice has slept for millennia, scientists once uncovered a tiny seed, smooth, pale, and seemingly lifeless. Yet when placed in soil and given warmth and light, it stirred, split, and rose. A plant bloomed that had not seen the sun in 30,000 years. Its petals unfolded into the air of a world completely changed, carrying within them the quiet memory of an ancient spring. Seeds are the time travelers of the living world. They endure droughts, floods, and winters that erase everything else. Some can survive centuries, even millennia, waiting for the right combination of light and warmth to awaken. Inside each seed lies not just a plant, but a plan, a map of form and purpose. Encoded in spirals of DNA, sealed beneath armor, preserved through silence. They rest, but they do not die. They listen to temperature, to moisture, to the pull of gravity. When the world becomes kind again, they awaken, extending roots downward and shoots toward the sky. A forest can sleep in soil for 100 generations, and then, with rain, breathe again. In the Judean desert, a 2,000-year-old date palm seed was coaxed back to life. Its leaves stretch now toward the modern sun, carrying the legacy of ancient groves once tended by forgotten hands. These stories of rebirth remind us that nature's patience is beyond measure, that time itself is one of life's greatest tools. Along the world's shorelines, where the ocean meets the land, rise forests that live in salt. Mangrove trees stand like living sculptures, their tangled roots twisting through mud and brine. They thrive where most plants would wither, pulling salt from seawater and releasing it through their leaves or trapping it within their bark. These trees hold the coast together. Their roots anchor, soil, and shelter countless species, crabs, fish, and mollusks that begin their lives in the safety of that submerged maze. When storms arrive, mangroves absorb the waves' fury, protecting the land beyond. To stand among them at low tide is to feel the heartbeat of two worlds. The air smells of salt and life. The water ripples around roots that breathe through tiny pores, exhaling the breath of the sea. In this half-liquid, half-earth world, adaptation becomes art. Mangroves remind us that survival does not always mean escape. Sometimes it means learning to live between. Far inland, where dry grasslands stretch toward the horizon, another miracle unfolds after destruction. When wildfires sweep across the plains, their flames consume everything above ground. The air fills with ash, the soil smolders. Yet beneath that surface, the roots of grasses wait sleeping through the heat in silence. These roots hold life in reserve. Their tissues are built to resist flame, storing energy deep below where fire cannot reach. When the smoke clears and rain returns, the blackened earth blushes with green. Shoots emerge in days, feeding grazing herds, rebuilding ecosystems, renewing the land. For the grass, fire is not an ending but a renewal, a cleansing that clears the old to make way for the new. In this rhythm of burning and rebirth, the plains reveal one of life's oldest truths. Destruction and creation are often the same process, seen from different sides of time. From frozen seeds to salt-loving trees and fire-healed fields, life shows us that endurance is not a contest of strength, but a dialogue with change. The planet breathes in cycles, freezing and thawing, burning and blooming, and in each cycle, something begins again. Beneath the waves, another kind of renewal takes shape, one not of fire or frost, but of partnership. The ocean is not a single body, but an ecosystem of relationships, woven from countless acts of cooperation. At its foundation lies the coral, a creature so small it could rest on your fingertip, yet capable of building entire worlds. Corals live in colonies, tiny animals secreting limestone to form vast reefs, underwater cities that stretch for kilometers. But the coral's true genius lies in its symbiosis. Within its translucent tissues live microscopic algae, each cell a miniature solar panel. The algae feed the coral through photosynthesis, and in return, the coral provides shelter and carbon dioxide. Together they build cathedrals of color that shelter a quarter of all marine species. Fish, crustaceans, and mollusks find food and refuge within these delicate walls. Without the coral's quiet labor, tropical seas would be barren. The reef is a living testament to collaboration, beauty born not from competition, but from mutual care. Yet it is fragile. A rise of even a few degrees in temperature can drive the algae away, bleaching the coral white. When that partnership breaks, the reef begins to fade. And so, the fate of entire oceans depends on the invisible trust between creatures smaller than dust. Among those reefs lies one of nature's most beloved partnerships, the alliance between the clownfish and the sea anemone. The anemone's tentacles are armed with stinging cells that paralyze most intruders, yet the clownfish swims freely among them, untouched. A special coating on its skin makes it immune to the sting. The fish defends the anemone from predators, driving away butterfly fish that would nibble at its tentacles. In return, the anemone's embrace protects the clownfish from its own hunters. They are bodyguards and companions, two species woven into one life. When divers first see them, they seem almost playful, bright orange flashes darting among the anemone's waving arms. But beneath the color and charm lies a perfect balance of chemistry and behavior, an alliance that has endured for millions of years. Elsewhere on the reef, another kind of cooperation plays out, one that looks almost like kindness. Small, striped, cleaner fish set up stations where larger fish gather. Here, predators and prey meet in peace. Groupers, moray eels, even sharks glide in, holding their mouths open as the tiny cleaners swim inside, nibbling away dead skin and parasites. For a few moments, the ocean becomes a place without fear. The cleaners feed, the giants are relieved of pests, and when the work is done, each swims away unharmed. Scientists call this mutualism, but it is also a glimpse of trust, an unspoken agreement between species. Sometimes, the clients queue patiently, waiting their turn, as if in a marketplace. To watch it is to see the economy of life itself, a flow of exchange as precise as any human system, written in instinct rather than law. And yet, not every alliance is peaceful. Some creatures survive through motion alone. Among the great wanderers of the sea are the sharks, whose bodies are built for perpetual travel. Unlike most fish, certain species cannot pump water through their gills while still. To breathe, they must keep swimming, forcing oxygen-rich water across their gills as they move. This means that even rest must come in motion. While parts of their brain slip into light sleep, their bodies continue to glide a rhythm of half-dream and constant travel. The shark's survival depends on momentum, on never letting the sea fall still around it. It is a haunting image, a creature that must move forever, dreaming as it swims through darkness, carried by an ancient instinct that refuses to stop. In its endless motion, the shark embodies life's hunger for continuity, a living current that flows without pause. From seeds buried in ice to corals glowing in the depths, from the quiet work of grasses to the ceaseless motion of sharks, the world is a tapestry of endurance. Every act of survival, whether by waiting, by cooperation, or by movement, is part of the same cosmic pattern. Life adapts not only by changing itself, but by forming relationships with the environment, with other species, with time itself. The seed trusts the future. The mangrove trusts the tide. The grass trusts the fire. The coral trusts the sun trapped within its algae. Even the shark, relentless in its journey, trusts the flow of the ocean to keep it alive. To live is to depend. To persist is to belong. If you listen closely, the pattern reveals itself. The faint crackle of roots in wet soil, the whisper of currents around coral, the heartbeat of a shark echoing in the dark. Each is a note in a larger song, the music of connection that binds Earth's living systems into one vast, breathing whole. And somewhere within that rhythm, among seeds and reefs and restless fins, is our place too, another thread in the endless weave of survival. Beneath the pale light of the moon, a beach comes alive with motion. Grains of sand tremble as tiny sea turtles emerge from their nests, breaking through the surface one by one. They pause, instinctively sensing the vastness before them, the smell of salt, the murmur of waves, the silver path of the sea under starlight. Though they have never seen the ocean, they know where to go. Drawn by the shimmer of the moonlight, reflected on the water, they begin their race to the waves. Their small flippers leave delicate trails behind them, a fleeting calligraphy on the sand. Around them lurk predators, crabs, birds, shadows waiting. But forward they go, guided only by light and the pull of something ancient within their bodies. The first touch of water is both chaos and deliverance. A wave rises, lifts them, and they vanish into the surf, carried toward a world of currents they cannot yet imagine. For many, this is the beginning and the end. But for the few that survive, the ocean will one day call them back. Decades from now, under another full moon, grown and strong, they will return to this same beach to lay their own eggs. No compass, no map, only memory written in magnetism, the pull of the earth itself. It is one of nature's oldest miracles, the navigation of life by light and longing. High above that same ocean, Another traveler follows invisible paths, the frigate bird, soaring on wings as long as its own body. It can remain aloft for days, even weeks, gliding upon thermal winds and ocean updrafts. Scientists have discovered that frigate birds sleep while flying, half their brain resting, while the other half remains awake to steer and balance. In this strange rhythm of waking and dreaming, they cross continents, sleeping in motion, suspended between worlds. The sky becomes their ocean, the wind their current. There are no boundaries up there, only the patient geometry of air and instinct. To imagine a creature that sleeps while flying is to imagine trust at its purest, surrendering to motion, letting the world hold you while you drift across its face. And then there is the albatross, master of the open wind. With wings stretching wider than a person is tall, it rides invisible energy through the sky, gliding thousands of kilometers without a single flap. This technique, called dynamic soaring, allows the bird to borrow power from the meeting of air and wave, rising with the wind, diving toward the sea, and climbing again in a seamless rhythm. An albatross can circle the entire globe in a single year, sleeping on the wing, drinking rain from the air, and returning to land only to breed. Its life is one of endless motion, a ballet of endurance and grace. To see one glide above the endless blue is to glimpse freedom distilled to its essence. It is the earth's spirit of wanderlust, made flesh and feather. Among the smallest of all flyers lives the most intense heartbeat of all. The hummingbird, a spark of living color, hovers before a bloom, wings blurring into invisibility. Its heart beats over 1,000 times per minute, driving a metabolism so fierce that it must drink nectar from hundreds of flowers every day just to survive. At night, when the world cools and the flowers close, the hummingbird falls into a deep stillness called torpor. Its body temperature drops, its heartbeat slows to a faint pulse, and it waits for morning. In this nightly death and rebirth, it teaches us something profound, that rest is not the opposite of energy, but part of its cycle. Each morning it awakens anew, rises into air, and burns once more like a living ember. It is a paradox made perfect, fragility powered by fire. Far from the gardens where hummingbirds feed, in rainforests draped in mist, birds of paradise turn courtship into performance. The males are dressed in colors beyond imagination, plumes of violet, sapphire, and gold, each feather catching the light like liquid. Before a watching female, they dance. They clean their stage, clearing leaves from the forest floor, then begin a choreography of bows, hops, and twirls. Some hang upside down from branches, transforming their bodies into living shapes of geometry. Others fan their feathers into glowing circles, shifting between shades of shadow and flame. Each gesture, each shimmer, is an offering, a story told in color and rhythm. These dances are not mere instinct. They are art, refined by generations of choice and desire. To watch them is to witness beauty born of evolution, a celebration of existence itself. In another part of the world, grebes perform their own dance upon water. Pairs run side by side across the surface of a lake, feet slapping in perfect unison, wings raised, bodies mirrored in reflection. Their dance lasts only seconds, but in that instant, it feels as though time itself has been choreographed. Through such rituals, nature reveals its secret truth, that beauty, too, can be a survival strategy, a language as vital as hunger or fear. Yet perhaps no creature blurs the boundary between imitation and creation like the lyrebird of Australia. This extraordinary mimic can reproduce nearly any sound it hears. The calls of other birds, the creak of branches, the whir of a camera shutter, even the metallic buzz of chainsaws echoing from distant forests. The lyrebird's tail, shaped like the ancient instrument from which it takes its name, fans out in delicate curves as it sings a living harp playing the forest's memory. Each note it imitates becomes a thread in its composition. It does not merely copy, it composes, blending the voices of its world into one layered symphony. To stand in a forest and hear a lyrebird is to feel that the environment itself has found a way to speak back. It is an echo of the earth's own voice, playful, haunting, and infinitely creative. And then there is the Arctic tern, the wanderer of light. Each year, it undertakes the longest migration known. In one lifetime, this bird may travel the distance of 3 trips to the moon and back. The tern follows summer itself, chasing sunlight across the planet. When darkness falls in one hemisphere, it rises in another, living in almost perpetual day. To the tern, time is a circle, not a line, a rhythm of warmth, wind, and endless flight. As it glides over ice and ocean, its small body carrying the memory of both poles, it reminds us that migration is not merely movement, it is devotion, a trust in the planet's pulse, a belief that the world is large but still home. From the turtle guided by moonlight to the bird that dreams in the sky, from the heartbeat of the hummingbird to the songs of the lyrebird, the living world reveals the poetry of motion and sound. Every wing beat, every note, every shimmering color is an expression of life's creative will, art as survival, movement as meaning. Nature, it seems, is not content merely to exist. It celebrates. It transforms survival into elegance, navigation into dance, instinct into music. And when we watch, when we pause long enough to listen, we find that these rhythms are not separate from us. They are the same pulse that beats in our own hearts. The pull toward the horizon, the need to sing, the desire to find our way by light. The earth, in all its voices, reminds us that to live is to create, to move with purpose, and to make beauty, even in the struggle to endure. At dawn, when the air is still and the world is caught between silence and light, a spider climbs to the tip of a blade of grass. It raises its body, feeling the faint tug of the breeze. From the tip of its abdomen, it releases a filament of silk so fine that it glitters only for an instant before disappearing into air. The thread catches the wind, lifts, and pulls the spider gently upward, and then the impossible happens. The spider flies. Carried by invisible currents, it drifts through the morning sky, rising over fields and rivers, lifted by nothing but its own creation. Scientists call this miracle ballooning, a journey without wings. Some of these wanderers travel for miles. Others have been found floating high above the clouds, carried between continents. It is flight, rewritten by stillness. A reminder that even creatures bound to earth can find freedom by trusting the wind. When the spider lands, it becomes an architect, with threads thinner than a whisper yet stronger, weight for weight than steel. It begins to weave. Each strand is a blend of softness and tension, flexibility and strength. In the darkness, the web grows like a dream, taking shape a geometry of hunger and patience. The spider waits at the center, motionless, its senses tuned to the faintest tremor. When the web shivers, the signal travels through silk to the spider's body like music through a stringed instrument. A vibration becomes a story of direction, distance, size, and struggle, and the spider reads it perfectly. To humans, the web is a trap. To the spider, it is a language. Some spiders carry their mastery underground. The trapdoor spider digs a burrow deep into the soil and lines it with silk, building a hinged lid of moss, twigs, and earth. The door is seamless, invisible against the ground. Beneath it, the spider waits in darkness. Poised, hours may pass, or days. Then, a tremor, a footstep, a breath of vibration. The trapdoor bursts open, the hunter strikes, and the door slams shut again. From the surface, the world looks unchanged, but beneath it, an ancient drama has unfolded. Every trapdoor spider is both engineer and illusionist, a maker of doors that open only once. In its quiet patience lies the essence of survival, the power to vanish, to wait, to choose the moment to reveal oneself. Not all hunters build with silk. Some wasps have learned to build with fear itself. Among the strangest creatures on Earth are the parasitic wasps that turn other insects into living puppets. A female wasp finds her host a caterpillar, a beetle, a cockroach. With surgical precision, she injects her egg into its body. The larva that hatches inside feeds, slowly, carefully, keeping its host alive for as long as possible. Some wasps release chemical signals that alter the host's behavior, forcing it to guard the larva or carry it to safety before dying. Others induce paralysis, preserving their victim as fresh food for the next generation. It is a strategy both horrifying and brilliant, a perfect balance of cruelty and control. Evolution, unburdened by morality, crafts what works, and in the wasp's world, life continues by rewriting the minds of others. And yet, within this eerie adaptation lies a truth. Even manipulation can serve the continuity of life. The wasp's macabre mastery is not malevolence, it is nature's relentless creativity, finding survival in even the most unsettling forms. Where the wasp commands through control, the honeybee leads through communication. Inside the golden labyrinth of a hive, thousands of bees move as one mind. When a scout discovers a field of flowers, she returns to the colony and performs the waggle dance, a looping rhythmic pattern that encodes both direction and distance. By watching her dance, other bees learn exactly where to go. The angle of her movement reveals the location of the flowers in relation to the sun. The length of her waggle tells the distance. The hive hums with comprehension. Each bee acts individually, yet together they behave as a single organism, self-organizing, self-sustaining, endlessly adaptive. The dance is a miracle of precision, a biological map drawn in motion. In their silent choreography, bees remind us that information is not the privilege of speech, it is the inheritance of life itself. In the shadowed jungles of Central America, small frogs carry tenderness written on their skin. The strawberry-poisoned dart frog, bright as a jewel, tends to its young with devotion. After its eggs hatch, the father carries each tadpole on his back, one by one, climbing high into the forest canopy. There, he places them into tiny pools of water, held in the leaves of bromeliads' miniature worlds in the air. Days later, the mother returns to feed them, laying unfertilized eggs as nourishment. Together, the pair ensures their offspring's survival in a place where danger drips from every leaf. For them, parenthood is not instinct alone, but a duet, a slow, patient collaboration played out in silence and rain. In the same forests lives another marvel, the Suriname toad, whose body becomes a cradle. After mating, her skin grows soft and spongy. The male presses fertilized eggs into her back, and the skin grows over them, forming tiny chambers. Weeks later, fully formed young toads emerge, bursting through the mother's flesh into the world. To us, it seems strange, even unsettling. Yet it is an act of protection, an assurance that life begins surrounded by warmth and safety. The toad's body itself becomes a home, proof that nurturing can take forms as extraordinary as existence allows. Among the leaves of the cloud forest rests one of the most delicate creatures ever found, the glass frog. Its skin and muscles are nearly transparent. Through its belly, you can see the heartbeat pulsing, the organs glimmering faintly beneath. Its invisibility is more than camouflage, it is vulnerability made into armor. By becoming almost unseen, it avoids detection. But its transparency also carries a kind of poetry. Life made visible, the interior world revealed. To look at a glass frog is to see what we are rarely allowed to see, the miracle of a body alive from within. Elsewhere, in lands of sand and heat, the horned lizard crouches among pebbles and thorns. When cornered by predators, it performs one of nature's strangest acts. It shoots blood from its eyes. The burst, aimed with precision, startles its attacker. The blood carries chemicals that taste foul to canines, forcing them to retreat. In this grotesque spectacle, the lizard's body becomes both weapon and warning, the ultimate self-defense, born from necessity. Not far away, the basilisk lizard performs its own miracle. It runs across water. Its feet, fringed with delicate scales, slap the surface fast enough to trap air beneath each step, forming tiny pockets that keep it afloat. For several meters, it skims the surface before diving beneath, vanishing like a ripple. What seems impossible is simply physics mastered by life. The basilisk has turned gravity into choreography, walking where others would sink, and high in the green canopies of Southeast Asia, certain snakes glide from tree to tree, flattening their ribs and undulating mid-air. They transform their bodies into living wings. Their flight is neither frantic nor awkward. It is smooth, graceful, controlled. In these forests, even the creatures of the ground have learned to borrow the language of air. In the islands of Indonesia, another ancient survivor prowls. The Komodo dragon, largest of all lizards, a relic of the deep past. Its presence feels primordial, the slow sway of its tail, the flicker of its tongue tasting the air. But hidden within its jaws is a modern weapon: venom. For years, scientists believed its deadly bite came from bacteria. Now we know better. The Komodo's saliva contains toxins that thin blood, drop pressure, and prevent clotting. A single bite weakens prey until it collapses. The dragon follows patiently, guided by scent, feeding when the body stills. Its venom is not cruelty, it is adaptation, a chemistry of inevitability. The Komodo dragon has learned that patience can be as lethal as speed. And then there are the crocodiles, survivors from a time before mammals, before birds, before flowers. For 200 million years, they have waited by riverbanks, barely changing, perfectly suited to their craft. When food is scarce or seasons harsh, a crocodile can slow its heartbeat to just a few beats per minute. Its body enters a state of near suspension, conserving energy for weeks or even months. Beneath murky water, it lies motionless, a living relic, patient as stone. Its stillness is its strength. While other creatures must eat or move, the crocodile simply endures. It reminds us that longevity often belongs not to those who move fastest, but to those who can wait. From spiders that fly to frogs that cradle their young, from lizards that run on water to reptiles that outwait time itself, life reveals an imagination that seems without end. Each adaptation is a story not of perfection, but of persistence. Evolution is not a straight line, but a conversation between matter and chance, between need and invention. The silk that floats in air, the eye that bleeds, the heart that slows to silence. All are verses in that conversation, written in the language of survival. In these impossible lives, we see reflections of our own. Invention born from challenge, beauty born from necessity, patience born from the will to continue. The Earth has been crafting such stories for billions of years, and it will continue long after us, the quiet genius of creation weaving itself again and again, one adaptation at a time. If you listen closely, beneath the hum of the world, you can almost hear it, the soft spinning of silk, the slow heartbeat beneath water, the endless whisper of life, remaking itself, always in motion, always enduring. Beneath the surface, sunlight begins to fade. The blue darkens to indigo, and indigo to black. Down here, in the quiet miles below the waves, begins a different kind of world, one where light is not given, but made. This is the deep sea, a realm of silence and electricity, where life speaks not with sound or color, but with pulses of light and current. In the still waters of South America's rivers and estuaries, the electric fish communicate through invisible signals. Their bodies generate weak electric fields, shimmering halos of charge that surround them like a sixth sense. Within this current, they can detect obstacles, find food, even sense the heartbeats of other fish. But more remarkably, they can talk through electricity, altering the frequency and rhythm of their discharges to send messages. A pulse means warning, a wave means greeting, a burst means courtship. To them, the water is alive with conversation not in sound but in current. To us, electricity is invention. To them, it is language. Among the most dramatic wielders of this power is the electric eel. A creature misnamed for it is not an eel at all, but a type of knife fish. It carries within its long, muscular body thousands of specialized cells called electrocytes, each capable of producing a small charge. When fired in unison, these cells release a surge strong enough to stun a horse. In an instant, water becomes a conductor of lightning. The eel senses the pulse of its prey's nerves, strikes, and delivers a shock that paralyzes. It can even use short bursts of low voltage to map its surroundings, seeing the world through electrical touch. To encounter such a creature is to feel the raw power of biology itself, nature generating thunder from flesh and water. The electric eel reminds us that the forces we think of as mechanical magnetism, voltage, energy, are not inventions, but inheritances, already perfected in the dark. Deeper still, far below the reach of sunlight, the ocean glows with a softer kind of power, the living light of bioluminescence. Here, brightness is not reflected. It is born within the body. Tiny bacteria live symbiotically within fish and squid, residing in special organs that act like lanterns. In exchange for nutrients and shelter, the bacteria provide light, steady, soft, and constant. This alliance has turned the deep sea into a galaxy of moving stars. For some creatures, like the flashlight fish, this glow is used for navigation and communication. They can open or close the shutters of their light organs, blinking patterns to signal others, or flashing rapidly to confuse predators. For others, like the anglerfish, light is the lure. In the black silence of the abyss, the anglerfish waits. From its head extends a thin, flexible rod tipped with a bulb that glows faintly, a beacon in darkness. Curious creatures swim toward it, drawn by the promise of illumination, of food, of company. But the light is a trap. In an instant, jaws open, and the light disappears. This strange fish, with its vast mouth and needle teeth, lives in a world without horizon. Males, tiny and fragile, attach themselves to females, fusing into their flesh, sharing blood and nutrients until they become one organism, two bodies joined for life. It is love rewritten by pressure, a marriage shaped by scarcity. In the abyss, where every encounter is rare, such fusion is not cruelty but survival. Not all lights here are weapons or lures. Some are conversations, signals, whispered across the water. The squid, for example, is one of the most expressive beings in the sea. Its skin is alive with chromatophores, cells that expand and contract to change color in an instant. Each cell is a microscopic canvas of pigment and light, and beneath them lie iridescent layers that shimmer like metal. A squid can flash from pale to crimson, from gold to ghostly blue, shifting patterns across its body faster than thought. Through these colors, it speaks. A ripple may mean warning. A pulse may invite. A sudden flare may frighten or deceive. In groups, squids communicate through synchronized color play, entire schools flickering with shared emotion. To us, their bodies look like living screens. To them, they are language incarnate. Their color dances are as precise as words, as poetic as song. In the deepest midwaters, drifts a being so gentle and strange it seems made of dreams, the vampire squid. Despite its name, it is neither predator nor vampire. Its body is delicate, gelatinous, a cloak of webbed arms floating in the dark. It does not chase prey but gathers drifting particles, marine snow, the slow rain of organic matter that falls from the world above. Its name comes from its appearance: dark, red skin, glowing blue eyes, and a web that connects its arms like the folds of a cloak. When threatened, it turns itself inside out, pulling its arms over its body so that only spiny projections remain visible, a soft creature wearing its own armor of illusion. The vampire squid lives where oxygen is scarce and light never reaches, yet it endures with patience and grace. In its stillness, it embodies a lesson the surface world often forgets, that gentleness, too, can be a form of strength. Even deeper, in the icy waters near Antarctica, swims the colossal squid, one of the most mysterious creatures on Earth. It is heavier and thicker than its cousin, the giant squid, and its eyes, the largest known in the animal kingdom, are the size of dinner plates. In the perpetual darkness of its realm, these eyes can detect the faintest glimmer of light, the glow of distant prey, or the shadow of a hunting whale. To imagine what it sees is to imagine the deep itself, awakening, flashes of blue and green, flaring against the black void. These squids live and die in mystery. Few have ever been seen alive. But even their existence tells us that the deep ocean, though cold and silent, is not empty. It is alive with slow giants, drifting like thoughts beneath the surface of the world. In this same darkness floats a creature unlike any other, the barrel-eye fish, a small, ghostly being with a transparent head. Through the dome of clear tissue, its eyes are visible, large, green, and luminous, rotating within like two orbs of glass. Unlike most fish, whose eyes face sideways, the barrel-eye's gaze is fixed upward, scanning for the silhouettes of prey against the faint light above. When it spots a drifting jellyfish or small crustacean, it tilts its eyes forward and strikes. Its transparent head is not fragility, but protection. The dome shields its eyes from the stinging tentacles of jellyfish, allowing it to feed among them unharmed. To see such a creature is to glimpse something alien and yet profoundly logical evolution, reshaping the skull itself to fit the dark. The deep ocean is a paradox, a place of crushing pressure and fragile beauty, of total darkness illuminated by life's own invention. Every flicker of light, every pulse of current, every reflection from translucent skin is a story of adaptation, a way to see, to speak, to survive. If the land is a theater of sunlight, then the ocean below is a cathedral of glow. Here, life does not flee from the dark, it becomes the light itself. The bioluminescent bacteria that live within fish, the squid that writes language in color, the anglerfish that wields light as a lure. All are artists in an invisible medium. The deep sea is not barren. It is expressive, and though we call it alien, it is as much a part of Earth as the forests or the sky. In every electric pulse and shimmer, in every faint glow rising through the black, the ocean reveals a truth older than any shore, that life is not afraid of the dark. It creates within it. When we look up at the night sky, we see stars scattered, burning, distant. When we look down, beneath the surface of the sea, we see their reflection, living stars, born of cells, glowing in patterns of blue and green. The cosmos above and the ocean below are mirrors of one another. One vast and cold, the other intimate and alive. Between them, the Earth glows quietly, a planet of light suspended in darkness. And somewhere in the depths, an electric eel pulses. A squid changes color, a fish carries its lantern, and a colossal eye opens to watch the glow of other lives. Together, they weave the hidden constellations of the deep stars, not in the sky, but in the sea. They remind us that illumination does not always come from above. Sometimes it rises from within. Along the coral reefs and rocky shores of the tropics, there is a quiet art gallery where the artists never sign their work. Here lives the decorator crab, a patient sculptor of disguise. With claws as delicate as fingers, it plucks bits of sponge, coral, seaweed, and even living anemones, pressing them into tiny hooked bristles on its shell. Over hours, the crab transforms itself into a moving collage, a patchwork of color and texture that perfectly matches its surroundings. Sometimes the crab's choices are practical. A layer of stinging anemones offers defense, their venomous tentacles deterring predators. Other times, the decorations seem almost whimsical. Bright shells, feathery algae, a tiny coral sprig like a crown. Whatever the motive, the result is always the same. The crab disappears, becoming an extension of the reef itself. To watch one crawl across the seabed is to see the line between self and world dissolve. It reminds us that survival and beauty need not be separate. That to live well is often to blend in, to belong. Nearby, among tide pools and shallow sands, lives another crab with a different kind of artistry, the hermit crab. Unlike its cousin, it has no shell of its own, only a soft spiral abdomen that must be sheltered inside the discarded home of a snail. As the crab grows, its borrowed shell becomes too tight. And so begins one of the ocean's most curious rituals, the vacancy chain. When a new, larger shell appears, hermit crabs gather, forming a line ordered by size. Each inspects the empty home in turn. The largest crab takes it first, leaving behind its old shell for the next in line, and so on down the queue. In moments, an entire community reorganizes. Every crab upgraded, every space filled. No fights, no chaos, just quiet cooperation shaped by necessity. It is an elegant economy, a cycle of exchange that has persisted for millions of years. The hermit crab's life is a metaphor written in motion, that progress is not isolation, but coordination, that sometimes the only way forward is together. While crabs construct and share, another inhabitant of the reef possesses a power almost cosmic in scope. The mantis shrimp, small and flamboyant, hides beneath rocks and coral ledges, its shell painted in iridescent blues, greens, and oranges. But it is not its color that defines it, it is the world it can see and the force it can wield. The mantis shrimp's eyes are among the most complex in nature, capable of perceiving 16 different color receptors, far beyond the 3 that humans possess. It can see ultraviolet and polarized light, detecting hues and patterns invisible to us. For the mantis shrimp, the reef is not the soft pastel dream we know, but a kaleidoscope of signals and reflections, a language of light beyond our imagination. And when it strikes, that beauty becomes power. Its club-like appendages accelerate faster than the blink of an eye, so fast they create cavitation bubbles, tiny voids in water that collapse with a flash of light and heat, nearly as hot as the surface of the Sunday. The strike is both weapon and phenomenon, a burst of energy so intense it can shatter aquarium glass. Yet the shrimp's body endures the impact, perfectly engineered to absorb and redistribute the shock. In laboratories, engineers study the structure of its limbs, hoping to design stronger materials and armor. The mantis shrimp, in its small, fierce perfection, embodies both art and science. The artist of sight, the physicist of motion. In its punch and its vision, it holds 2 truths of life: that perception can be power, and that even the smallest creature can carry the strength of the stars. As night falls upon the reef, a faint green glow ripples through the water. Tiny worms drift upward from the sand, their translucent bodies shimmering with emerald light. These are marine fireworms, fragile as threads of glass, yet radiant as stars. When disturbed, they release glowing particles that swirl behind them like galaxies, a luminous defense against predators. The light, a product of bioluminescence, transforms danger into beauty, fear into radiance. To watch them drift is to see the sea's version of the night sky, a constellation not above but below. Even here, in miniature and in peril, life finds poetry in its own defense. But to understand the true extremes of invention, we must descend further past the coral gardens and twilight zones, down into the black heart of the Earth itself. In the deep ocean trenches, along volcanic fissures where the planet's crust cracks open, scalding water rich with minerals bursts into the cold sea. These are the hydrothermal vents, places so hostile that once scientists thought life could never exist there. Yet when explorers sent submersibles into the darkness, they found abundance. Forests of tube worms taller than men, colonies of blind shrimp and crabs, and clouds of bacteria feeding on chemical energy instead of sunlight. Here, life draws power not from photosynthesis, but chemosynthesis, a process in which microbes harvest energy from the reaction of water and volcanic minerals like hydrogen sulfide. These microbes form the base of an entire ecosystem, feeding the worms, crustaceans, and fish that flourish in the boiling dark. It is a world lit not by the sun, but by the Earth's own heat, a reminder that life's spark can ignite anywhere, given chemistry and time. From the deep sea to the surface, from boiling vents to open air, nature continues to test its boundaries. In volcanic regions on land, hot springs bubble with colors too vivid to seem real pools of turquoise, amber, and rust, painted by the microbes that live within. In places where temperatures reach near boiling, thermophiles, heat-loving bacteria and archaea thrive. Their enzymes remain stable where ours would collapse, their cells unbroken in scalding water. In the acid pools of Ethiopia's Dalol volcano, where the pH can drop near zero and metal corrodes in minutes, acidophilic microbes live and multiply, their pigments coloring the landscape in surreal hues of red and gold. They inhabit what appears to be hell and turn it into home. And far below, miles beneath the Earth's crust, in the pressurized cracks of bedrock, live organisms that have never seen the surface. They survive on chemical traces, hydrogen released by rock, methane, iron, sulfur, eking out an existence that moves at a glacial pace. Some reproduce only once in centuries, yet they persist. Scientists have found microbial life 2 miles deep, sealed in water pockets older than civilization. Each of these beings tells the same story, that life is not fragile, but infinitely adaptable. Even in the absence of oxygen, some microbes endure in stagnant mud, in sealed cave systems, in sediments at the bottom of the sea. They use metal instead of air, breathing iron, manganese, or even uranium. Their metabolism reshapes the chemistry of their surroundings, leaving behind mineral traces, a fingerprint of invisible activity. And when oxygen first appeared billions of years ago, these ancient lineages did not vanish. They simply adapted, continuing their patient work in the shadows of Earth's new age. In other places, radiation rains down in lethal doses, yet life persists. The bacterium Deinococcus radiodurans, nicknamed Conan the Bacterium, can survive levels of radiation thousands of times higher than would kill a human. It repairs its DNA as fast as it is broken, stitching itself back together with molecular precision. Scientists study it in hopes of understanding how we, too, might learn to resist the decay of time and environment. In the frozen soils of Antarctica, cryophiles, cold-loving microbes remain active in temperatures below freezing, metabolizing slowly within ice crystals. They are patient chemists of frost, proving that metabolism does not need warmth, only persistence. And at the opposite extreme, inside geysers and volcanoes, hyperthermophiles thrive in water hotter than boiling. Their cells held together by heat-resistant proteins, they live where metal melts, where pressure crushes, where life should fail and yet they succeed. Together, these creatures form the outer edge of biology, a map of possibilities drawn not by limitation, but by defiance. In the darkness of hydrothermal vents, where minerals mix with heat, some scientists believe the very first life began. The minerals provided structure, the vents supplied energy, and chemistry did the rest. From there, everything else unfolded. Forests, oceans, consciousness. Perhaps then, life's true nature is not delicacy but tenacity. An unbroken thread that weaves through stone, water, and fire. Every organism, from glowing worms to acid-loving microbes, continues that story. Each one proof that existence does not yield easily. In our own search for other worlds, we look for conditions like these, the extremes. If life can thrive in boiling acid, in frozen glaciers, in radioactive stone, then it may also exist beyond Earth, beneath the ice of Europa, within the methane lakes of Titan, in the mineral oceans of distant exoplanets. The creatures of our planet's harshest realms are, in truth, ambassadors showing us not just how life survives, but how far it can stretch the definition of possibility. And so, when we gaze at a bubbling vent or a frozen desert, we should not see desolation but creativity. For even in the bleakest corners, nature writes in luminous ink, bacteria glowing in the dark, worms feeding on metal, microbes breathing rock. Life does not fear the edge. It creates there. From the decorator crab's artistry to the mantis shrimp's kaleidoscope eyes, from worms glowing green to bacteria in molten pools, Earth tells a single story, that living things are not defined by their environment, but by their ability to transform it. The deep sea, the volcanic spring, the acid lake, each is a workshop of invention, each a reminder that existence is not a fragile miracle, but a persistent one. The more we search, the more we learn that there are no true frontiers, only thresholds, where imagination begins again. Life adapts, redefines, and endures. It does not ask permission of temperature or pressure. It only asks for a chance, and from that chance, it builds worlds. Long before wings brushed the sky, before the first mammals stirred in the dark, the world belonged to giants. Scaled, feathered, and fierce, they thundered across continents that no longer exist. Yet even the reign of dinosaurs, vast as it was, did not end. It changed shape. When we look at a bird, perched lightly on a wire or circling above a meadow, we are looking at a descendant of those vanished worlds. Feathers, once used for warmth or display, became instruments of flight. Bones hollowed, lungs grew efficient, hearts quickened. The lineage of predators like Velociraptor and Archaeopteryx refined itself into grace and motion. The next time a sparrow takes wing or a hawk glides against the clouds, imagine the shadow of a creature that once ruled the earth still passing through the air. The dinosaurs never truly disappeared. They simply learned to sing. While the birds inherited the skies, another lineage remained almost unchanged. The crocodiles, patient witnesses to 200 million years of time. They have outlived empires, survived meteor strikes, and watched forests turn to deserts and back again. Their bodies, armored and ancient, are so perfectly adapted that evolution has barely needed to alter them. With slow hearts and still patience, they wait in murky waters for the rhythm of life to pass near. When they strike, it is with the certainty of something honed by ages. To see a crocodile basking in sunlight is to see time itself resting, a creature that remembers a world before flowers, before mammals, before the continents split apart. In its golden eyes lies the reflection of Earth's endurance. And while reptiles ruled the land, in the shallows of primeval swamps, something extraordinary began a breath. Drawn not through gills but through lungs, lungfish, those ancient amphibious beings, bridge two worlds even today. With both gills and primitive lungs, they can survive when ponds dry to dust, burrowing into the mud and sleeping in cocoons of moisture until the rains return. They are living fossils, keeping alive the moment when fish first began to dream of land. Their gulp of air became a prophecy, one that would lead to salamanders, to reptiles, to mammals, to us. When a lungfish rises to the surface and exhales, it exhales history, a memory of the first breath ever drawn on Earth. Millions of years later, another creature took the opposite journey, leaving the land to return to the sea. The ancestors of whales were once four-legged hunters, prowling riverbanks and tidal flats. Imagine Pachycetus, a wolf-sized animal with hooves and fur, slipping through the shallows 50 million years ago. Over generations, its descendants followed the fish they hunted into deeper waters. Their legs shortened, feet widened, and nostrils migrated to the tops of their heads. Their bodies lengthened, their tails flattened into flukes. Species like Ambulocetus, the walking whale, lived between worlds, paddling through rivers by day and resting on muddy banks by night. Eventually, the sea claimed them fully. Their bones grew dense for buoyancy. Their ears adapted to hear through water. Every leap of a whale today carries the echo of that long return land, yielding back to ocean, gravity surrendering to grace. To watch a whale breach is to see the memory of evolution made flesh, a mammal that left the shore behind, trading feet for fins and finding freedom in the deep. On land, other transformations unfolded quietly. In the dawn forests of 55 million years ago, a creature no larger than a fox trotted through the ferns. It was called Eohippus, the dawn horse. It had multiple toes and browsed on soft leaves in the shade. As the climate shifted and forests opened into plains, its descendants adapted. Legs lengthened for speed, toes fused into hooves, and teeth hardened for the grind of grass. Across epochs, the horse evolved from forest dweller to runner of open skies. To see a horse galloping across a field today is to witness motion perfected by time, each stride a verse in the planet's long poem of adaptation. From small beginnings grew a creature of endurance and wind. Sculpted by the open land it came to master. If the horse represents evolution's grace, then the blue whale represents its scale. The largest animal ever to exist, larger than any dinosaur. It embodies the ocean's vastness, stretching more than 30 meters, weighing over 180 tons. A blue whale's heart alone weighs as much as a small car, and with each beat, it sends tidal waves of blood through a body that dwarfs everything else alive, and yet, for all its size, it feeds on creatures barely visible: krill, tiny shrimp-like animals consumed by the millions in a single mouthful. The whale's song, a low, resonant vibration that travels for hundreds of kilometers, may be the most haunting sound on Earth. Beneath the ocean, it is music written in water, deep, slow, and eternal. In its vast body, we see the culmination of countless transformations, from land mammal to sea titan, from hunter to gentle giant. It is the planet's most magnificent paradox. Strength built from fragility, enormity nourished by the smallest lives. But evolution's story is not only written in grand creatures. Some of its oldest authors are still among us, small and unchanged. Insects, ancient architects of ecosystems, have persisted through every age. The dragonflies that dart through the air today once filled carboniferous skies with wingspans of 2 feet. Cockroaches scuttling in our kitchens are nearly identical to those that lived 300 million years ago, surviving every extinction since. Silverfish, termites, beetles, all are veterans of catastrophe, designed so efficiently that time itself could not improve them. To call them primitive is a mistake. They are perfect in their simplicity. Engineers of continuity. Where great species vanished, insects remained, turning decay into soil and death into nourishment. They are the planet's quiet recyclers, the silent pulse of life's persistence, and life has needed that persistence. Because 5 times in Earth's long history, the rhythm of existence has faltered. The mass extinctions, those moments when nearly everything died, reshaped the world. The first, in the deep past, erased almost all marine life. The greatest, the Permian extinction, wiped out 90% of species. The last, 66 million years ago, ended the reign of dinosaurs in a single blazing instant. Each time, the Earth grew silent, forests turned to ash, oceans emptied, and for a moment, it seemed the song of life had ended. But then, slowly, softly, the music began again. New species, new shapes, new possibilities. Mammals rose from the shadows, birds filled the skies, flowers bloomed. The lesson of these extinctions is not despair, but renewal. Life, even when broken, rewrites itself. The planet is a phoenix that rises again and again from its own dust. Evidence of these forgotten ages still lies hidden in the coldest corners of the world. Beneath Antarctica's ice, scientists have found ancient seeds and fragments of DNA, remnants of forests that once covered the continent when it was green and warm. The seeds no longer grow, but their genetic memory remains intact, a message across millions of years. Within their preserved molecules, we can read the story of how Earth's climate changed, how ecosystems rose and fell, and how the planet transformed itself from tropical to frozen, and perhaps one day, back again. Each seed is a time capsule, a frozen syllable in Earth's language of resilience. But perhaps the most profound record of evolution is the one we carry within us, not in fossils or ice, but in our own cells. Hidden inside human DNA are ancient viral genes, relics of infections that occurred in our ancestors tens of millions of years ago. These viruses invaded germ cells and left their genetic footprints behind, becoming permanent residents within our genome. Over time, evolution did something astonishing. It repurposed them. One viral gene, once meant to invade and fuse cells, now helps form the placenta in mammals, making pregnancy itself possible. We are, in a sense, partly built from the ghosts of viruses, from invasions that turned into symbiosis, from enemies that became collaborators. Every heartbeat, every breath, every thought you have contains fragments of other lives, microbial, viral, ancestral, all folded together into the symphony we call human. From the feathered descendants of dinosaurs to the ancient crocodile, from the fish that breathed air to the mammal that swam, from insects that refused to vanish to genes that turned infection into innovation. All of it is one story. The story of Earth is not about survival of the strongest, but of the most adaptive, not of permanence, but of transformation. Evolution is not progress. It is persistence shaped by change. Every creature, every genome, every seed is a variation on one continuous melody. The will to continue. If you could listen closely enough, across the silence of epochs, you might hear it, the sound of fins turning into feet, of scales into feathers, of molecules into memory. You might hear the world breathing through its transformations. The story of evolution is not a tale of extinction. It is a song of becoming, and it is still being written in every cell that divides, in every bird that flies, in every child that opens its eyes to the sky, carrying within them the history of oceans, forests, and stars. Because the story of life is not just on Earth. It is Earth, an unbroken conversation between matter and miracle, still unfolding, still singing. Take a breath. In this simple act, you join a lineage older than mountains, older than oceans, older even than life itself. Every inhalation you draw is a bridge across time. The oxygen entering your lungs once flowed through the leaves of ancient forests, drifted through the feathers of birds, and filled the lungs of creatures that no longer walk the earth. The carbon you exhale may have been part of a trilobite's shell, a whale's heart, or a drifting seed, because atoms never die. They only change companions. The air itself is memory, a restless archive of existence. Every breath is shared, recycled endlessly through bodies and ages, connecting you to all that has ever lived and all that ever will. To breathe is to participate in the great circulation of being, the rhythm of the planet inhaling and exhaling through you. You are not separate from the world. You are its continuation. Look deeper, not outward, but inward, and the same truth glows in the code of your cells. Within every living thing on Earth, from the smallest bacterium to the tallest redwood, runs a single alphabet, DNA, written in just 4 letters. Those 4 molecules, adenine, thymine, cytosine, guanine, form the script that shapes every eye, leaf, and heartbeat. Across billions of years, evolution has shuffled and rewritten this code, but never abandoned its language. It is the one tongue spoken by all life. The sequence that builds your hands once guided the fins of fish. The genes that pattern your eyes echo those that soar through the darkness of the first animals to leave the sea. You share ancestry not only with apes and whales, but with moss and mushrooms, with coral and crows. We are not simply surrounded by life. We are life variations on a theme the Earth has been composing for nearly 4 billion years. To touch a tree, to hear a bird, to hold another human hand, all of it is a reunion, a recognition of familiar code written in different forms. You are kin to everything that breathes, blooms, and drifts. And if you look still farther, beyond the bounds of biology, beyond the blue of the sky itself, the connection widens again past the living to the luminous. Long before oceans formed, before continents took shape, before even the first cell divided, there were stars. Within their blazing hearts, hydrogen fused into carbon, oxygen, iron, and calcium, the very elements that now compose your blood and bones. When those stars reached the ends of their lives, they exploded in great supernovas, scattering their contents across the young galaxy. From that dust, our sun was born. From that dust, the planets condensed. From that dust, you emerged. The calcium in your teeth, the iron in your blood, the oxygen that fills your lungs, all of it once burned in the cores of long-dead suns. You are stardust, made aware of itself, a fragment of the universe that can wonder about its own origin. Every heartbeat is an echo of cosmic fusion. Every spark of thought is the universe remembering its fire. When you gaze at the night sky, you are not looking into the distance, but into memory, recognizing, perhaps without words, the family you come from. The stars are not beyond you, they are within you. And so, as our journey through Earth's story nears its close, let the noise of the day fall away. You have traveled from the ocean's depths to the edges of the cosmos. You have drifted with jellyfish and sung with whales, walked beside ancient forests and molten seas, breathed with frogs asleep beneath ice, and dreamed with stars that died to make you possible. Now, in the quiet of this moment, the universe exhales through you. Close your eyes. Feel the pulse in your chest. That rhythm is the same one that beats in coral reefs, in forests, in tides. It is the music of planetary life, written in water and carbon and time. There is no true separation between you and the world you inhabit. The wind moving through the trees is the same breath moving through your lungs. The light that touches your skin once shone from a star whose ashes became your body. You are part of the ancient rhythm of Earth, a single note in its endless symphony. So rest now. Let the gravity of the planet cradle you. Imagine the waves, endless and slow, washing along the shores of your breath. Imagine the forests breathing with you, each leaf a lung. Imagine the stars turning overhead, vast and patient, their light taking thousands of years to reach you, a lullaby written in photons. You do not need to strive or to hold on. You are already part of everything. The soil beneath you, the air above, the great unbroken chain of life and matter that stretches backward to the first spark of creation. Let that thought wrap around you like the sea holding its creatures, like the night sky holding its stars. You are home. You always were. Sleep well, traveler of time and dust. Dream softly among the galaxies that birthed you. Breathe deeply, for every breath you take is shared with the world, with the whales beneath the waves, with the forests that sway in darkness, with the atoms of stars long gone. The universe lives through you, and you through it. Good night. May the earth keep its gentle rhythm beneath you, and may the stars watch over your dreams.